Is the AMD RX 9070 the GPU that finally dethrones NVIDIA's mid-range king? Or is it just another overhyped contender? Buckle up, because we're about to find out. Today, we're tearing into the AMD RX 9070, a card that's landed at $550, squaring off against its slightly beefier sibling, the RX 9070 XT at $600, and NVIDIA's RTX 5070, which, frankly, showed up to the fight looking a little dazed. These prices are tight, only a 9% jump from the 9070 to the XT. But the real question is whether that extra $50 unlocks meaningful power or just a fancier badge. And then there's the RTX 5070, which NVIDIA hoped would dominate, but might just be swinging at shadows. Let's break this down and see who's left standing. First up, efficiency. The RX 9070 isn't just good, it's borderline ridiculous. In our performance per watt tests, it came within a hair of being the most efficient GPU we've seen this year. That's not a small deal. It's AMD flexing hard in an area where NVIDIA's usually had the edge. Think about it, a card that sips power while delivering serious frames. Compared to the 9070 XT, it's pulling way less juice, sometimes 80 watts less, while keeping most of the performance intact. That's a sweet spot NVIDIA wishes it could hit with the 5070, which feels like it's guzzling power just to keep up. Now, let's talk benchmarks, because this is where the rubber meets the road. At 4K and rasterized games like Dragon's Dogma 2, the RX 9070 churns out 64 FPS, while the XT pushes ahead to 70 FPS, a 9% bump that mirrors its price hike. Solid, but not earth-shattering. Here's where it gets spicy. The RTX 5070 lags at 56 FPS, giving the 9070 a 14% lead. That's not a fluke, it's a pattern. In Resident Evil 4 at 4K, the 9070 hits 91 FPS, outpacing the 5070's 78 FPS by 16%. Even in Starfield, it's 63 FPS to the 5070's 54 FPS, a 17% gap. The 9070 XT widens that lead slightly, but the non-XT version is already punching above its weight. Switch to 1440p, and the story holds. In Cyberpunk 2077 without ray tracing, the 9070 delivers 106 FPS, with the XT at 116 FPS, about 11% better, and the 5070 trailing again. I've tested these cards across 10 games, and the RX 9070 consistently edges out the 5070 in raw rasterization, often by double-digit margins. NVIDIA's card only stumbles less at 1080p, but even there, the 9070 holds a 6 to 14% advantage in titles like Black Myth, Wukong, and Baldur's Gate 3. My take? AMD's finally cracked the code on delivering performance where most gamers live, 1440p and 4K, without breaking the bank. But let's not dodge ray tracing, because this is NVIDIA's playground, or at least it used to be. In Black Myth, Wukong at 4K with ray tracing and upscaling, the RX 9070 manages 26 FPS, barely playable, while the 9070 XT nudges up to 30 FPS. The RTX 5070, though, leaps to 41 FPS, a crushing 57% lead. Ouch. In Cyberpunk 2077 at 4K with RT Ultra, the 9070's at 18 FPS, the XT at 21 FPS, and the 5070's at 23 FPS. Still ahead, but the gap shrinks. Here's my spin. AMD's made huge strides in ray tracing compared to past generations, beating out cards like the RX 7900 XTX in some tests, but it's still playing catch-up. If ray tracing's your obsession, the 5070's got the edge, but it's not the landslide NVIDIA wants you to think. So, what's the deal with these cards? The RX 9070 feels like AMD's secret weapon, a lean, mean gaming machine that doesn't waste a watt. The 9070 XT is the muscle car version. More power, more grunt, but you're paying for diminishing returns. That 9 to 16% performance boost across resolutions is real, but it's not life-changing. I'd argue the non-XT's efficiency and price make it the smarter pick for 90% of gamers. The RTX 5070, meanwhile, is a bit of a mess. It's got ray tracing chops and NVIDIA's software tricks like DLSS, but its rasterization stumbles and power-hungry nature leave it looking overpriced and underwhelming. Here's where I get opinionated. The RX 9070 is the value king right now. At $550, it's delivering 87% of the performance of cards that cost twice as much, like NVIDIA's old $1,000 RTX 4080 Super in games like Resident Evil 4. That's insane. AMD's not just competing, it's resetting expectations. The 9070 XT is tempting if you've got the extra cash and crave that top-tier edge, but honestly, the non-XT feels like the sweet spot AMD engineered to steal the show. As for the 5070, I can't shake the feeling NVIDIA mailed this one in. It's like they assumed brand loyalty would carry it, but against the 9070's efficiency and raw power, it's a tough sell. Let's wrap this up. The AMD RX 9070 is a revelation, a GPU that proves you don't need to spend a fortune for flagship-level gaming. It outmuscles the RTX 5070 in most scenarios, sips power like a champ, and leaves the 9070 XT as a luxury upgrade for the picky. If I'm building a rig today, the 9070 is my pick, hands down. It's not perfect, especially in ray tracing, but for the price, it's untouchable. NVIDIA's got some soul-searching to do because AMD's brought the fight to their doorstep, and they're not backing down. That's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed the ride.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell to the later update from my channel. Thank you for watching till the end, and see you in the next video.